Hey, it's James, the co-founder of AccountAim here, excited to announce our latest product feature release, and that's the Events Attribution Module. So the problem, we probably all felt it, events are hard to run. They're expensive, they're hard to coordinate from an outreach perspective, and they're surprisingly hard to measure the impact of. Really common question for execs or boards to ask, is our event strategy worth it? Which events should we cut or which events should we double down on based on their performance? The gut of most CMOs says that events do work. They're good for brand and they help progress deals and generate some ops, but it's hard to prove that without the numbers, and executives remain skeptical. So that's what the event attribution module solves. With this module, you'll get real-time visibility into the ROI for every event. You'll know which accounts need pre- and post-event outreach to activate those prospects. You'll know which events actually create new pipeline and which events influence existing pipeline to move the sales funnel more quickly. So no more hand waving away conversations with executives around the impact. No more having to scrape together disparate data sources across all of your event planning spreadsheets and the CRM with the duplicate contacts at each of those and all those familiar challenges. You'll finally just have confidence in your event strategy overall and where you need to spend that next dollar or do that next sales activity. So if we jump into the events attribution module here, we'll start to see a few things. The first is just total reach. And so here we have our events attribution module for 2025. We can see total unique contacts attended across total unique accounts attended of all of our events. And we can filter this by ICP, named accounts, answer the question, are we actually covering our priority TAM at these events? And what percentage of that TAM are we covering? Are there more events we need to go to, or do we need to cut some down because they're actually not a good fit based on the contacts there? The next really interesting piece here is building forecastability and predictability into pipeline generation from your event strategy. So what we're seeing here is the total number of opportunities created from events over the time periods since those events ended. And so what you're seeing here is 73 opportunities were created in 2025, but over 50% of them were actually created within 14 days of that event ending. So the takeaway being that for this company, you need to strike while the iron is hot. Make sure that reps are actually reaching out to those prospects that they met with at these events quickly, or else these accounts might not turn into opportunities. As you start to understand this data, you can also start to forecast a lot better about what your event strategy is actually going to generate in terms of pipeline and actually close one revenue based on the typical sales cycle of an event sourced deal. Your CRO, your CFO will really thank you as it helps them understand if they're going to hit plan or not based on this data. Super powerful here for a RevOps team. We'll also get into ROI for the event strategy. So we can, of course, view this at the aggregate level. We see here that this company has a 3.6x return on their event spend, very healthy, based on generating just under $300,000 in ARR in 2025 from their events on $83,000 of spend. But even more helpful is starting to understand this at the event level, right? So when you can answer the question that executives are asking of, was that event actually impactful? Where can we cut spend in our event strategy? Etc. Here we see all of the events that we went to in 2025 with their ROI here on the bar versus how much we actually spent to attend them. We might have heard that South by Southwest was this really buzzy conference for us, but when we dig into the numbers, we can see that it actually was a negative return, lower than 1.0, meaning that we generated less revenue than we spent on it. And it was our third most expensive event. So we might actually choose in the future to move some or all of this budget to some other really high performing but cheaper events like a trade show or a product release webinar that generated a lot of pipeline for us. We can also use this data to come in and look at attributes on a per event level as well. So we can see for Dreamforce, how many contacts did we engage with, how many accounts, what was the ROI, and when did these new ops get created. Again, this is really helpful for forecasting future events. So if we went to Dreamforce in 2026, we can actually start to understand if we engage with X contacts, how many opportunities can we roughly expect to get and when. Super powerful. Maybe my favorite piece of the events attribution module, though, is here, and that's managing pre- and post-event outreach. So obviously, if you don't follow up with the leads that you met at your event, you're not that likely to convert many of them to opportunities. And so it's so crucial for your SDRs and your AEs to systematically reach out to these accounts and contacts that you met. Here we can track in real time, again, how many of these accounts did we touch within 30 days, in this example, of that event ending. We can see for an example like Dreamforce, where we met 94 accounts, if only 54 of them were reached out to within a month after of that event, we're probably leaving a lot of potential pipeline on the table that we could have generated by following up. Combine this with AccountAim's ability to send notifications to SDRs and AEs based on this data. It makes it really easy to stay on top of this and get reps in the habit of actually reaching out to these folks and generating more pipeline and ultimately closing more deals, which has been really, really powerful. So this was a quick tour of the Events Attribution Module, just scratching the surface of the capabilities here, but we're already seeing huge ROI for customers. Get 19% improvement in their events ROI by focusing on their winning event strategy and dropping those that don't perform. RevOps folks are reporting that they're building a lot more confidence with leadership, even sharing this information with boards who have gone from skeptical on event strategies to very engaged. And then, of course, better execution on that pre- and post-event outreach to those accounts, as I just mentioned, really helping decrease that pipeline leak coming from missing those outreaches. So with event attribution, in summary, know which events deserve your budget, prove the impact to leadership, and make sure none of those leads from the events actually get wasted. So great sharing this with you guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.